welcome to the Nailsin Ratings. I'm going to talk about The Flash. Now, just finished watching the episode in which basically the Elongated Man took center stage, which was predictable because this plot now for the season, or the halfway mark of the season, is the Thinker has framed the Flash for his murder, when in actuality he had himself killed because he was dying anyway, and transferred his consciousness into the body of another man, a younger man, who also has the power to read minds and stuff like that. Anyways, if you're not keeping up with it, I can't take you through the whole story. Anyway, it was interesting for the Thinker to be there because for the past most of the seasons, I think all of them actually, the villain has always been another super speed guy. You had, of course, the Reverse Flash, who got it all started off, and then Zoom, and then Savitar, which turned out to be an evil version of Barry himself, and all that. And so this season they said, "Oh, geez, we got to break from that," because it was taking its toll on the show. I enjoy the show. I think it's the best of the CW shows, and that's primarily because of the strength of the cast. They're able to carry a show even when the plot's not really all that great, and so you're able to hang in there, and you might get a little surprise for the next episode that's a little better. And so the Thinker is this totally different villain. He doesn't have super speed powers. He's just really super duper smart. But it took a toll on his body to where he was stuck in a chair and all this sort of stuff. And now he's transferred himself into a new young body, and he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And for whatever reason, it's not clear yet. I'm assuming they'll reveal it, that he's really got a problem with the Flash. And so now Barry Allen's in prison, and he can't be the Flash out there, but still dangers are about. And so the other guys, Vibe, Killer Frost, and of course the Elongated Man, who finally got his name through an unfortunate slip of the tongue, and he's stuck with it for the Ralph Dibny character. I don't know the name of the actor, but he kind of reminds me of Jim Carrey, and he's that kind of guy who's perfect for the role, and that he looks like he really is elastic. So it works out. His whole kind of a-hole attitude, but with a heart of gold, works well. And another character that continues to carry the show, even when the stories may not be all that great. But this one wasn't bad. The Trickster is back, or actually Trickster Jr., because they brought back Mark Hamill to reprise the role that he had played on the original Flash series from the early 90s, even though it's not connected. I don't know why. I guess they just wanted Mark Hamill on the show. But he's the father of the current Trickster, who gets broke out of prison by his mother, who was the girlfriend from the original series as well. And now, well, she's much older, and she wanted to break out her son, and she's been on medication to keep herself from going crazy, but in order to enjoy the villainy of her son, she quit her pills, and now she's back to being the Trickster's sidekick, Prank. And so they wreak havoc, and the Trickster immediately decides to target Elongated Man, and so so there's the story. And he's threatening people until he beats the Elongated Man. An Elongated Man takes up the challenge, but all this time that Mr. A-hole with a heart of gold finds out that he's not indestructible, because Trickster, he manages to work up an acid to burns through the Elongated Man's flesh, and so he's like all scared and can't do it. He has a heart-to-heart with Barry, and Barry convinces him, "Look, man, you got to stick with it," and blah, 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 blah. So it convinces him, and he does it, and he saves Vibe and Killer Frost from a certain death. And as luck would have it, he survives the acid because, what's his name? Dr. Wells was able to negate the chemicals of this new form of acid that the Trickster created. So everything's fine and dandy, and that's that. And it's carried most by some of the comedy that they're able to keep just at that subtle edge without overpowering the show and being too ridiculous. And they were able to do that because, well, the Trickster is a ridiculous villain to begin with, and so it all kind of fits in with the flow of the show, and that works out. Meanwhile, Barry had to deal with, now that was pretty cool, and some of the aspects of his super speed powers where Barry, of course, they know he worked for the police department, so he's not very popular in the prison. So, of course, he gets attacked and what have you. And there's a lot of interactions there, but he's able to use his speed powers and where he's able to manipulate the positions of people where they knock each other out, and it's pretty funny and everything, and it works out. So he's not really any serious danger unless there's a superpowered villain in the prison as well, and I don't know, but we'll see. But other than that, he's going to be out of action for a while. But the problem with that is that the plot for the mid-season finale was that, he got framed for the Thinker's murder. He could have easily cleaned up the crime scene and the police wouldn't have found anything. Now, the Thinker's wife would have said, "Oh, Barry Allen killed my husband," but without the physical evidence, I don't think he's getting convicted. That's an acquittal. So they needed some kind of element there for why he couldn't use his powers. I mean, he almost does, the electric bolts are flaring up, and then he just decides, no, I can't do it. Now, why? They needed, like something happened in that episode, and he was a little depowered or something, and he had to wait for his powers to recharge. I don't know, something like that, physical reason why he couldn't do it. Because it's things like that. You didn't think it all the way through, and it kind of messes up the whole plot down the road for whatever the ultimate plan of the Thinker is. Now, another problem. Granted, the Thinker is not a speed villain, but it's the same idea. Whereas Savitar manipulated the whole season, and other supervillains were created as a result. Same thing with the Thinker. Zoom was manipulating all the events when he was around, and he introduced, the Killer Frost was from another universe, but nevertheless, you get the idea. And then, of course, Reverse Flash was the big villain that manipulated everything. It's this constant guy that there's always a core villain who's manipulating things. So they keep going to the same template of plot over and over again. They don't know what else to do. And so even though the villain doesn't have the same powers, it's still basically the same template of stories. And I don't know if that's a good idea to continue with that. And maybe they should be looking for a way to end it. I love the show, but I don't want to see it just burn out into this watered down shell of its former self, like Walking Dead is doing right now. So they might want to consider that, unless they have a whole new direction to take. But I don't know how long they can go with these shows. They're expensive to do, and actors want to move on and stuff like that. So we'll see. But so far, this particular episode was fun, so it gets 4 stars. But the overall problems with the overall plot is there, so it would have to be really great for me to just kind of forget about that for a while. But it's still there, and it's kind of damaging the overall plot. But it's there. Nothing you can do about it. So there you go. The Flash so far still remains the best of the CW superhero shows. Thanks for listening. So please, if you enjoy... How can you not enjoy this voice? Please look down in the description below. I have stores with t-shirts and stickers and hats and all kind of good stuff like that. Plus, I do my poor man's Mystery Science Theater treatment of public domain films, sci-fi and horror and that sort of thing, at the Nailsin Theater, and the link is also down below. They're very cheap. Full films are $1.75, and short films are 90 cents. So there you go. Fun for you. And if you just really feel sorry for me, there is a link to my PayPal where you can, drop a coin in the virtual tip jar. Yeah. Also, you can check out the Mr Nailsin Show for free at RadioMisfits.com. New episodes every Saturday. So, once again, thank you for listening and watching. And subscribe. I'll make more.